Rose Zary and the Royal Emerald Secret by Darling James Mirame.
Chapter 8. The Story of Bartholdi and His Muse. It's very hot. Make sure to drink plenty of water. I don't want you to get dehydrated, as it can cause weakness or confusion, my little adventurers, Aunt Lisa advised. The children approached the fountain and began to drink. When Rose leaned forward, she noticed a glowing memorial plaque attached to the bench in the distance. She walked over to it, curious. "What is this?" Rose wondered curiously. The plaque had an engraving, but it was partially obscured by dirt and grime. Rose tried to wipe it clean, but it wasn't enough. "Guys, I need something to clean this bench plaque. It has an inscription, but I can't read it," Rose remarked. Sarah looked around. "Let's see if we can find something." Conor spotted a nearby vendor selling water bottles and snacks. "There's a vendor over there. Maybe they have some stuff we can use," Conor pointed out. They approached the vendor, and Conor asked for a sponge or napkins. The vendor smiled at them. "Sure thing, kids. But I'm all out of napkins today. You can buy a small towel for $1, though." The kids looked at each other. "We don't have any cash on us." "I'll check with Aunt Lisa for some change," Rose said disappointedly to Conor and Sarah. "No, wait," Sarah said, an idea forming in her mind. She turned to the vendor. "Sir, we really need to clean that table over there. Is there any small task we can do for you in exchange for the towel?" The vendor considered the offer briefly before responding. "All right. If you can help me organize these snacks, I'll give you the towel." "Deal." The kids agreed and quickly got to work sorting and arranging the snacks. Impressed by the kids, the vendor exclaimed, "Thanks, kids. Here you go." The kids returned to the bench with the plaque, armed with their newly earned towel, and started cleaning it. As they wiped away the dirt and grime, the inscription on the plaque began to reveal its hidden message. "Love conquers all," Rose read aloud. "This reminds me of a story from a long time ago," Aunt Lisa remarked with nostalgia. "What story, Aunt Lisa?" Rose inquired curiously. "The story of Bartholdi and his muse, the models for the Statue of Liberty," Aunt Lisa replied, looking at the emerald. "Tell us, please tell us," Sarah exclaimed excitedly. Aunt Lisa took a deep breath and began her tale. Long ago, in the 19th century, a French sculptor named Bartholdi was chosen to create a monumental statue, a gift from France to the United States. Rose closed her eyes and let her imagination run wild. She had always been enchanted by the magic of early cinema, particularly the short black and white movies pioneered by the Lumiere brothers. She loved the simplicity and charm of those old films, and often dreamed of being part of the movie industry herself, though she wasn't yet sure on which side of the camera she belonged. In her mind's eye, the scene was set much like workers leaving the Lumiere factory, with a bustling Parisian street with horse-drawn carriages, cobblestone paths, and elegant buildings adorned with wrought iron balconies. Bartholdi, dressed in an antiquated European costume, appeared on the screen with the exaggerated expressions and gestures typical of the silent film era. Rose loved how these early films could convey so much emotion and humor without any dialogue. She envisioned Bartholdi as a character in The Sprinkler Sprinkled, stumbling and bumbling, trying to juggle his sculpting tools while dodging passers-by. He dropped his chisel like the mischievous boy stepping on the gardener's hose, causing a small commotion. Rose could almost hear the laughter of the audience, and she felt a thrill at the idea of creating something that could evoke such joy. She imagined him tripping over a cobblestone, much like the slapstick humor in those early films, and narrowly avoiding a collision with a street vendor's cart that seemed to move with the comic timing of the arrival of a train at La Chotat station. The background buzzed with activity, reminiscent of the everyday life captured in films like Baby's Breakfast. People hurried past, carriages clattered along the streets, and in the midst of it all, Bartholdi's antics played out like a silent film comedy, complete with the dynamic energy of demolition of a wall. Rose could picture herself directing such a scene, imagined her future in the world of cinema. Aunt Lisa's warm voice continued to narrate the story, This statue would come to be known as the Statue of Liberty. Bartholdi needed a model for his creation, and he found inspiration in his love, Isabella. In Rose's imagination, Isabella appeared on the screen, dressed in a flowing Victorian gown with lace trimmings and a high collar. Her hair was elegantly styled in an updo, adorned with a few loose curls framing her face. She walked gracefully through the streets of Paris with warmth and kindness. Bartholdi, upon seeing her, dropped his tools and rushed towards her, his clumsy movements contrasting with her poise. The scene shifted to a cozy artist's studio, with sculptures and sketches. Isabella posed regally, her chin lifted and her gaze steady, while Bartholdi worked feverishly, trying to capture her essence in clay. Despite his bumbling, there was a tenderness in his eyes as he looked at Isabella, and Rose could feel the love and admiration he held for her. So, Isabella was the face of the Statue of Liberty? Conor accidentally disrupted the projection, snapping everyone back to reality. Well, maybe or maybe not, but Bartholdi and Isabella were deeply in love, and they worked together on the statue. Aunt Lisa nodded. Sarah closed her eyes. The story resumed, but now it unfolded like a kabuki theater performance. Kabuki, a classic form of Japanese drama, is renowned for its elaborate costumes, stylized gestures, and exaggerated makeup. The stage was decorated with vivid colors and intricate designs, and the performers wore lavish outfits and heavy face paint. Isabella was depicted by a Japanese girl in a traditional kimono, her face adorned with dramatic kabuki makeup that featured bold lines and colors to highlight her expressions. Bartholdi resembled a samurai, his attire embellished with striking patterns, completing the breathtaking visual display characteristic of kabuki theater. The background showed a serene Japanese garden with cherry blossom trees in full bloom, a tranquil pond, and a wooden bridge. Traditional Japanese music floated through the air with the characteristic twang of the shamisen, a three-stringed instrument that produces a bright, plucky sound, the deep resonance of the taiko drums, large barrel-shaped drums that create powerful rhythmic beats, and the melodic flute sounds of the shakuhachi, a traditional Japanese bamboo flute known for its soft, haunting tones. The music emphasized the emotions of the characters, creating a captivating atmosphere. In Sarah's imagination, Isabella moved gracefully across the stage, her kimono flowing with each step. Her hair was styled in a traditional bun, adorned with ornate hairpins, and she held a delicate paper fan. Bartholdi, dressed in the attire of a samurai, followed her closely, his katana visible at his side. Their movements were stylized and exaggerated, typical of kabuki theater. Aunt Lisa continued her tale, but their happiness was short-lived. One day, Isabella lost her precious emerald necklace. She was devastated, as the emerald was a symbol of their love. Bartholdi searched high and low for the emerald, but it was nowhere to be found. In Sarah's mind, the scene shifted to a dramatic moment where Isabella clutched at her neck, realizing the emerald necklace was gone. Her face contorted with grief, and her movements became more intense, conveying her despair. Bartholdi began a frantic search, his actions exaggerated with desperation. The music swelled, with the taiko drums beating faster and the shamisen's notes becoming more urgent. In their grief, the couple began to drift apart, Aunt Lisa shared. They were so consumed by the loss of the emerald that they lost sight of their love for each other. Eventually, they separated, and the Statue of Liberty was completed without Isabella's influence. Sarah imagined the couple standing on opposite sides of the wooden bridge, the distance between them growing wider with each passing moment. The falling cherry blossom petals symbolized the fading of their love. Bartholdi turned away, his movements heavy with sadness as he continued his work on the statue, the joy and inspiration he once felt now replaced by a deep melancholy. The music softened, with the bamboo flute, the shakuhachi, playing a mournful melody that underscored the tragedy of their separation. So, the Statue of Liberty was finished without Isabella's help? Conor asked, his curiosity piqued but also slightly annoying the others, who were deeply engrossed in the story. Rose sighed. Conor, you keep breaking the flow. Can you please just listen? Conor shrugged. Sorry, I just got really into it. That's so sad. They lost each other because of an emerald, Sarah noted tearfully. Yes, but the story doesn't end there, Aunt Lisa continued. Conor closed his eyes. His imagination took the form of a Western musical in Technicolor. The scene unfolded like a vibrant old-fashioned movie, complete with bright saturated colors and lively music. Isabella looked like a jarabe dancer, a traditional Mexican folk performer, her skirt swirling with every step. Bartoldi resembled a mariachi musician, complete with a sombrero, a wide-brimmed hat common in Mexican culture, and a guitar slung over his shoulder. The background featured a bustling western town, complete with wooden buildings and dusty streets. Tall, spiky plants that thrive in desert environments, known as cacti, dotted the landscape, adding a touch of authenticity to the scene. Lively mariachi music filled the air, with the strumming of guitars, the rhythmic beat of drums, and the joyful sound of trumpets resonating throughout the surroundings. The melody added a festive and energetic atmosphere to the scene. In Conor's imagination, Isabella danced gracefully through the town, her movements fluid and captivating. Bartoldi followed her, playing his guitar. Their interactions were filled with the vibrant energy of a Western musical, with exaggerated gestures and dynamic movements. Aunt Lisa continued her tale. Years later, a worker was repairing the statue and found the emerald hidden within its folds. He returned it to Bartoldi, who was overjoyed. He knew he had to find Isabella and make amends. Did they reunite? Conor asked eagerly, imagining himself as one of the Western characters, complete with a cowboy hat and boots. They did. Bartoldi traveled to France and found Isabella. He presented her with the emerald and apologized for letting their love slip away. Isabella forgave him and they rekindled their love, living happily ever after, Aunt Lisa narrated, smiling. In Conor's vision, two cowboys entered the scene, their spurs jingling as they walked. What is this? Is it part of a treasure hunt? One of them requested. Can we join in? Asked the other, tipping his hat. Back in reality, a group of tourists approached the table, curious about the glowing inscription. Can we join in? Wondered tourist. What is this? Is it part of a treasure hunt? Other tourists requested again. Aunt Lisa and the kids exchanged worried glances. They needed to protect the table and the emerald's secret. Actually, this is a private party. But there are lots of other places to enjoy in the park, from over there. Aunt Lisa answered, smiling at the tourists. The tourists looked disappointed but moved on. Aunt Lisa turned to the kids. That's a beautiful story, Aunt Lisa, Rose expressed happily. It is, but it's also a reminder that material possessions are not as important as the love we share with others, Aunt Lisa said seriously. We need to be careful. The emerald's power is attracting attention. We must protect it and the secrets it holds. We will, Aunt Lisa. We'll make sure the emerald stays safe, Rose declared determinedly. They all nodded in agreement, ready to face any challenges that came their way. As they prepared to leave the park, Rose couldn't shake the feeling that their adventure was far from over. She had no idea that another mystery was about to pop up, right in her own home.